Commission meeting June 15th, 2022. Will the Secretary please take a roll call?
Thank you, Chair. Commissioner Newsom?
Here.
Commissioner Case?
Here.
Vice Chair Killian?
Here.
Chair Krelling?
Here.
Commissioner Valia is ill and will not make it tonight. We have a quorum.
All right, thank you, Mr. Secretary. Moving on, item 2, consent calendar. Do we have anything on consent this evening?
We have none.
All right, then we will close consent calendar and we will move to public communications. And for the record, if you wish to address the commission, please fill out a speaker's card. And when invited by the chairperson, bring your card to the commission secretary and state your name, address, and who you represent. As a courtesy and technology permitting, members of the public may continue to provide live, remote, oral public comment via the city's Zoom video conferencing platform. However, the city cannot guarantee that the public's access to teleconferencing technology will be uninterrupted, and technical difficulties may occur from time to time. Members of the public desiring to provide comments as part of the meeting are encouraged to either submit written comments at least 2 hours prior to the meeting or to attend the meeting in person. For those trying to get onto Zoom, the meeting ID is 834-8442-1824. Login password 237503. And if you don't have a computer, you can phone in at 669-900-6833. So in the chambers, it looks like we have a speaker. Will you please introduce yourself?
My name is Pete Bennett. My main address for my resume is petebennett.net. I've been a resident of Contra Costa County for 45 years. I actually fully support District Attorney Becton. I know more about the DA's office than anybody in the county. In my situation, the DA's office has covered up murders of my witnesses and my employees. A lot of them. So many that my friend was found murdered outside the DA's office 2 years ago. His best friend died 15 years ago. And they're married to Wood versus Contra Costa County. And we shared the same attorney, and he was murdered. Now, why do I say this? Because there's my face and my picture. 5 of my family members were murdered in 2014. The girl in the Amber Alert with the daughter was my close friend. Her brother worked for the district attorney that was indicted for perjury. The district attorney's brother has a whole bunch of Russian connections, right one handshake away from Putin. Look up Pacific Energy Development. I know your job. I know what your company is. I'm a software developer. I lived here in Walnut Creek on the streets, and they stole my computers, my cars, beat me up, put me in the hospital, punched me, bled me, took my children. District Attorney Mark Peterson's brother's a Mormon in Alamo First Ward. Alamo First Ward is the attorney that killed my witness in Bennett versus Southern Pacific in 1989, covered up by Mr. Sheriff Richard Rainey. My kids were taken with false documents. I'm threatened with arrest for trying to get food over at Trinity Center. The shenanigans down at the DA's office, she should demote every one of those people and get them out of there. They're playing, I can't describe a word for it. Okay? Double cross. I have a murder next to my house, 2 of them in 1979, Pleasant Hill. My black employee killed in 82. Black man hung from a tree in 84. Black woman hung from a tree in 85. My customers murdered in San Ramon in 86. Then my witness in my civil case killed someplace in 1989, and my friend was killed by a Pittsburgh cop in 1988. Okay? My employees have been killed. I know the county better than anybody. I've dug out all the data. Not Candace Anderson, but Mitchoff. Her brother is Greg. I knew Greg. He was found shot dead in a drive-by shooting. How many people do you think I know have been killed in this county? A lot. On my little business card, deadwitness.com. You ought to read everything I've been writing. Thank you very much. And you guys have a great day. And I've been hurt so badly that I'll probably be in a ambulatory situation. I can't walk.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett.
Yeah, I know. Everybody gets their money.
Is there anybody else in council chambers who wishes to address the commission this evening? Do we have any indication of anyone on Zoom who wishes to address the commission?
If anybody on Zoom would wish to address a public communications non-agended item, please raise your virtual hand, please. And seeing none. Seeing none.
All right, thank you, Mr. Secretary. We will close out public communications. Moving on to public hearings, we have just one this evening. Montego Senior Living Final Design Review Application Y21-050 at 1455 Montego. And does staff have a report this evening?
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Simmer Gill, Associate Planner with the City, and we are here tonight to consider the final design review for the Montego Senior Living Facility that will be located at 1455 Montego. As you may recall, this project came before this Commission in February of this year. So tonight what I will do is just reintroduce the project and go over the changes since you've last seen it. The applicant Nita Anand was expected to be here tonight, so I'm hoping she's here available via Zoom, but I believe the architect Douglas Pancake is available via Zoom. I'm here to answer any questions that you may have after the presentation. Let's start with the project site. The 1.2 acre site is located on the west side of Montego, centered between La Casa Villa and Tampico intersections. The site is surrounded by multifamily residential units to the south, single-family residential to the east, and a 81-unit senior housing facility to the north. Vehicle access is provided along the south property line, leading to the paved surface parking lot on the at the back of the site. And the project is renovating an existing two-story medical office building into a residential care facility, which will also include a 4,860 square foot addition to the rear or the courtyard area of the existing building. The total floor area of the residential care facility with the addition included will be 26,571 square feet. And the residential care facility will contain 19 living units and 20 memory care units with a total of 78 beds. And a total of 40 parking stalls are provided on site. And just a little background, on February 2nd of 2022, the DRC reviewed this project and was supportive and recommended that it move forward to the Planning Commission for consideration of the use permit and the tree removal permits. The DRC also provided feedback on the building design and site landscaping and recommended that the applicant make the following changes. And the plans have been revised to incorporate all of DRC's suggestions except the pedestrian pathway along the rear parking area, which I will go over shortly. And then on March 10th of 2022, the Planning Commission approved the conditional use permit to allow a residential care facility use in the office commercial zone, and the approved use permit to modify the existing office building, which exceeded the current 25-foot height limit. The tree removal permit was approved for removal of 9 protected trees. So tonight, the applicant is requesting a final design review approval of the project. And overall, staff and DRC was supportive of the site layout, and no major changes were requested by the DRC. However, the DRC did suggest that the applicant consider incorporating a walkable path along the rear parking near the trash enclosure that would wrap around the courtyard space and connect to the lobby area along the southeast elevation. And I have just included the red line here to show you what was requested by DRC. And then given the tight space, the applicant was not able to provide that pedestrian path as it would conflict with the required hammerhead turnaround in that location. And I also wanted to go over the required 8-foot tall perimeter masonry wall that is required along the property lines of the sides and rear of the site. The city's Muni Code states that when a non-residential use, such as a residential care facility, abuts residential properties, it be separated by a 8-foot tall masonry wall, unless a finding could be made that a 8-foot tall wall is not necessary for the protection of the adjoining properties. And just to clarify, the applicant's request to waive the 8-foot tall wall and replace it with a 6-foot tall wood fence along the rear and side property lines will be considered by the zoning administrator and not the DRC, as I think that was mentioned at the previous DRC hearing. So just wanted to clarify that. And then more details on the fence design will be provided at the ZA hearing. And now moving on to the changes, the renderings were updated to show the site conditions in relation to the slope, the ADA ramp along the front of the building, and also all of that new landscaping that is proposed along the front. The building consists of a combination of horizontal hardy plank siding in 2 shades of brown and painted stucco in various shades of brown, taupe, gray, and stone veneer and bronze aluminum metal panels will also be installed. Overall, DRC was supportive of the articulated building facade, the variation in materials, and also the building colors. So the applicant did not make any changes to the color and materials palette. And in the next few slides, I will go over the minor changes that were made to address the DRC comments. And here is the existing and revised elevations that illustrate the changes that have been made to this elevation. So given that the building is already quite tall, DRC did suggest reducing the height of the street-facing entry tower element. The applicant has dropped the height by approximately 2 feet. So previously it was at 34 feet, and now with the entry tower, it's at 32 feet. The applicant kept the height of the tower 3 feet above the existing roof line to provide that necessary articulation and to provide some sort of visual interest. DRC also suggested incorporating more trees or landscaping along the front of the building edge to ground the building. The applicant has provided larger 15-gallon shrubs that were added to the front of the building. And the renderings here show the new plantings and also the grade difference and the ADA ramp along the front of the site. And the previously proposed 8-foot tall stucco courtyard wall that wraps around the southeast corner of the building has also been changed to address DRC comments. The DRC suggested that the applicant consider a more interesting design rather than a solid stucco wall, which was previously proposed. The applicant has updated the wall design by incorporating horizontal gray metal slats atop the plaster finish retaining wall. And a row of taller plantings will also be installed outside the courtyard fence, screening the curved edges of the fence that consist of stucco. The redesigned wall and the additional landscaping does provide the necessary screening and some sort of design element along the private courtyard space. However, staff would like DRC's input on this. And here are the side elevations of the building with the changes. This is the south elevation. And then here is the other side elevation that'll face the existing senior housing facility along the north. And then with that, staff does recommend that the Design Review Commission approve the final design review for the building design and the landscaping for the Montego Senior Living Facility, subject to the conditions of approval in the draft resolution. And with that, I do conclude my presentation, but I'll be here for any questions. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Case, any questions for staff?
I think this may be more for the applicant, but the number one thing that jumped out at me when we looked at the project was the ramp to get to the front door. Is that like the most compact that's able to be? Because it seems circuitous.
That's a good question, but I believe we don't have the details on that, so I'd probably defer that to the architect.
Okay, that's my only question. Thank you.
Okay,
Great,
thank you.
thanks. Commissioner Newsom.
I had the same.
Oh.
I had the same comment.
And Vice Chair Killian.
Just a clarification, this will come back to the signs subcommittee later for signage?
If it's necessary, but if it meets the sign ordinance, I don't believe it needs to come back. Is
Okay.
that, yeah, unless they're asking for an exception or something that's out of the sign ordinance standards.
The applicant is here, and I don't believe that they did. Mr. Pancake, did you have a presentation to make tonight?
No, are you guys able to hear me?
Yes.
My video looks like it's locked up.
Or
But,
are you available for questions only, or?
I am available for questions only. I do want to thank the planners. We had a change in planners. Haley was our planner through the first portions of this project. Samir has come along after the fact and done a wonderful job. If you would like to ask me questions, I don't think there's anything else I can add to the presentation. I can answer the question and address the question about the ramp now if you like. The quick answer is it's an existing ramp. And so we've left it in place. Is it the most compact, excuse me, the most compact ramp that we could probably design in front of it? There's always room for improvement. I'm an architect and I know challenges, but we have landscaped it. We have responded to the city's request to soften it. And so the renderings, the top right and the top left rendering demonstrate those attempts.
It's not existing. The new ADA ramp in front?
I don't believe it is I don't recall from when I visited the site.
You know that I am sorry. I misspoke. So can you go back to the site plan, please? Oh, no, I'm sorry, the site plan that showed the ramp. When I debriefed with my architect today, I was, or not today, I'm sorry, last week before she left on vacation, I was under the impression that this was existing. So it does look like we have several switchbacks. There's a grade elevation that we need to change to get our accessible path of travel to the Montego Way, to the public way. So forgive me.
Yeah, I don't remember. It might be there. I don't recall in a while. Okay, okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm embarrassed. I apologize for misspeaking. I misunderstood.
Yeah, I mean, you can see in this picture, there's like a
There's-
walkway.
yeah.
So maybe they're using a walkway in combination with a ramp or something.
Right, and you know what, looking at this a little bit more closely, you can see the gentleman in the red walking up the ramp. Or just past the ramp going into the building. We don't have that switchback, so we had to change that to bring the elevation up to our front door, or actually that's the front of the building.
I think part of when I'm looking at this existing picture, there's not railings on this, right? And clearly it doesn't look very steep. So this is like a sloped sidewalk. So maybe if the railings that are shown in the rendering don't need to be there, and it can connect to the sidewalk from the parking lot more directly, it won't feel quite as roundabout. You know what I'm saying? It feels really like if I were walking up that, I'd be so annoyed that I'm practically at the building and have to walk back to the street. Like it feels funky.
I am very quickly looking at Google Maps right now so I can give you an accurate answer.
Okay,
You don't want it to be like a Disneyland ride
Right.
route.
right.
I get it.
Well, and the truth of the matter is the arrival is further back on the site. We do have accessible parking and accessible access there. So this is clearly been implemented to meet our accessible route or path of travel to the public way.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that the grade change from the sidewalk to the project site does require a ramp per building code.
Yeah. I figured, I mean, I can see enough stairs, right? So there's obviously a grade change happening. That was my only question.
And thank you, Commissioner Case. Vice Chair Killian, did you have further comment on that or other questions?
No questions.
And Commissioner Newsom, anything else?
Well, just to, mostly a question for staff here. So we have this ramp landing that actually is on the property line, and that's going to be, based on this, is going to be higher than 6 feet. I mean, is that allowed?
I'm sorry, it's what, higher than 6 feet?
Yeah, it's what would be the allowed height of a structure like that? Essentially, it looks like it's on property line.
Can you point with the cursor exactly where you're talking? We're looking at this piece of the ramp that's the landing at the switchback next to the stair.
Yeah, the part that's closest to the street.
I don't have an answer for you in terms of what would be the height of the structure.
Grade show it to be about 5 feet from the landing down.
From the landing down, so that means the handrail is 44 inches above that. I mean, I think we're going to get in a quagmire with the building department when it gets there. I mean, the other issue that might come up is site triangle. That's actually might block the visibility of vehicles departing. So I think if possible, it would be good to take I have no objection to really anything else, but other than that, I just think you might get in a quagmire down the road when the building plans come in and you see how high that thing is. I mean, at the very least, even that's not the case, it'd be great if that railing was something that was softer. Like I don't know how you would do that, but just like Casey said, if the guardrail's not needed, don't have it. It's going to be kind of this mass in front of the building where you're really trying to soften the building, soften the building landscaping.
And we've done so much to address the elevations to bring the massing down, which I think we've accomplished. I hear you, and we're happy to work with staff or with you to improve our ramp condition.
I mean, I think that's really all that's needed, frankly, is I just think, I mean, my concern, having been in your shoes, is just you're going to get this approved, and then when this actually gets inputted into engineering, there'll be something like a site triangle issue or something else that'll knock it down. So I think you're probably going to have to address it one way or the other, frankly.
Right. I think that's a really good observation.
I was just noticing to pick up on the ramp. I'm assuming your width of your ramp is not 5 feet wide. So if that's correct, I don't think you have your proper turning 60-inch landings on the corners either, just from what I can tell from a reduced copy.
Commissioners, I think we need to go back to the drawing boards with our ramp.
Are the commissioners, can we just have this be a condition that the ramp gets reworked so that it meets code?
I'd be fine with that.
I'm fine with the design. I agree with Philip. I think when they start looking at it in details, the building department, though,
Yeah,
on that, so.
Agreed.
okay. Any other questions or comments? The chair has no questions for staff.
No questions.
No questions.
Oh, we have another question.
Are we in comment or?
No, we are in Q&A with
questions.
staff. Okay. Then let's move on to if there's any formal presentation from the applicant for the evening.
If you're satisfied with what you've seen from the planner, the staff planner, Samir, I'm available for questions.
Okay, great. And then we'll fast track to, do any of the commissioners have questions for the applicant or architect?
No.
Nor does the chair. So then we will move on to public comment on the project. Is there anybody in chambers who wishes to address the commission on the Montego Senior Living Project? And not seeing any. Is there anybody on Zoom, Mr. Secretary?
I see no electronic hands raised. Still none.
Looks like all right, looks like we have no public comment, so now we can move to commissioner comments. And Vice Chair Killian.
My only comment, again, goes back to the signs. It appears that every building out there has a monument sign out there. So I was, in fact, in the picture here, this existing building has one also. Also, in your rendering, you kind of imply that there might be some signage going in the upper facade. So I just wanted to make a comment at this point. The monument sign, the way your landscape and this ramp is designed, you know, I don't see a place where you can just plop in the monument sign and not affect the landscape layout. So if they do come back, you know, hopefully the signage people be forewarned to talk to the landscape architect too, to make it fit in. And again, I would not support a sign at that upper facade. The street's too narrow, you can't see it anyway. I don't know if the intent was to try to have some visibility out to Ignacio Valley Road or not. But again, if you look on your sheet, A6, up 3, proposed west elevation. Again, I don't know if that was just a leftover sign from another rendering or not, but you show a signage, you know, up on the upper facade, and I'm not in favor of it in that location.
Okay,
So,
that is indeed an intention now. So we're proposing that signage, but we can certainly work with the city. We've demonstrated our collaboration and our desire to be good neighbors and to make this building as welcome as it can be with your city.
Yep, Ms. Secretary reminded me that we're closed on the Q&A piece, and we're in comment only now, unless we want to reopen Q&A.
right, my comment was, when you bring it back for signs, since we're not addressing signs, to be prepared to look at it holistically with the landscape. And
Great, thank you. Commissioner Newsom.
Well, other than what I've said before, I think my comment would be, I think you really have to study that path of travel, because that's actually an exit. It doesn't appear to be the entrance. The lobby is in the back.
Right.
So, you know, you might think about just having the sidewalk that goes along drive aisle be the path of travel. And clearly you need to have an exit. That main exit needs to have a path of travel, but it doesn't have to be prominent like that. It could be much lower slope, circuitous, on-grade type thing, which would be less expensive anyway. And it draws attention to itself and to what is an exit. So, I mean, there's a stair. Looks like there's a stair going straight up, but these are all things to go over with your owner. But if you're not trying to draw attention to that entrance, it's not an entrance, then I would just scale the whole thing back if you can.
Right.
Yeah.
Commissioner Case.
I like the changes to the sound wall. I think that's better. It helps break it up a little bit, so I appreciated that. And then I mentioned I'm just concerned about the ramp, and one of my thoughts is how that landing that points towards the parking lot comes almost right up to the pathway that aligns the parking lot as well. So it just feels just feels crunchy in there. And I don't know if there's an option to maybe like flip it with the fountain and the fountain comes, I don't know. But it seems like there is opportunity. You've got a little bit of space, and yes, you're making up a big grade, but I think it's maneuverable, and the rest of it I'm fine with. So I would not have an issue if that like came back to a subcommittee or something just to look at that little piece. That would be fine for me.
Okay, great, thank you. My comments, first, I want to thank Vice Chair Killian, good catch on the sign. That was pretty hard to see that in that elevation. I think that would, because of the height, that would become a skyline sign and definitely require approval from the sign subcommittee. So, thank you for catching that. I think this is a great use of this property, having visited the existing building before our study session. The existing building, somewhat of a monstrosity standing there, and it's vacant. And I think you did a really nice job redesigning the architecture, the colors, everything, the landscaping. I think it's going to be a huge improvement to what people living around there will be looking at, and people just going to the other businesses and residents, senior residents. So I think it's great. I think what I've heard overall from my fellow commissioners is maybe a condition of the approval to just have a subcommittee take a look at the ramp front design on the building to make sure it looks as best as it can, and also to make sure, obviously, it needs to meet the building codes. So those are my comments. Is anybody interested in making a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve this project with the staff resolution conditions, and we add one other condition, that the front ramping system, or it's technically coming out of the exit, be reviewed by a committee of one, or a subcommittee,
I think a subcommittee of 2 would be good.
2, 1, 2, 3, okay. And again, we're not approving the sign tonight, right?
Yeah, no signs are being approved.
So that's my motion.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion made and a motion seconded. Will the secretary take a roll call vote, please?
Yes. Commissioner Newsom.
Yes.
Chair Curling.
Yes.
Commissioner Case.
Yes.
Vice Chair Killian.
Yes.
Okay. 4-0, motion passes.
I like to use the gavel. That's why it's got to be used. It's here saying, please use me.
Almost got up and left. So used to that.
I even tried to look up the proper use of a gavel under Robert's rules. So that closes the public hearing on the Montego Senior Living. Not on the agenda is commission considerations. I had just wanted to bring up a topic to see if there's interest in further discussion. It caught my eye recently that the Planning Commission, I think it may have already been approved, but at least they were seeking approval from the council to change their start time from 7 p.m. to 6 p.m. And I think pretty much all, if not most of the commissions now are starting at 6. I wanted to see if there's interest in further discussion, and then we can bring it back when Commissioner Falia is here as well, as an actual topic to discuss. So just curious if anyone's interested besides me.
I would be interested. Yeah. I like earlier. I have found that in some of the public meetings I attend, there are several that are starting earlier as well. So I'd be open to that.
Great. Anybody else?
Yeah, I mean, my only condition is I can really start at 6, so when the sign subcommittee happens, it'll have to happen after or.
Well, we probably shouldn't discuss this much. I just want to get a temperature. If anybody wants to discuss it, and we can agendize it in a future meeting.
I think it
This
should be
is something that
discussed,
would
yeah.
need to be agendized.
I agree.
Yeah, and
Okay.
we definitely want,
Open for discussion is what we're looking for.
yeah.
I'm fine with any time.
Great, okay, well, let's get that on an agenda when the 5 of us will be in attendance.
Will do.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. And with that,
I have a couple.
oh, you have a couple items, okay.
Some updates. The city council recently adopted general plan amendments, specific plan amendment, first reading for a plan development ordinance and some tree removal permits for Oakmont and Shadelands with the RCFE and senior adult living, that kind of thing. So that will come back to, well, that's got to go for a second reading, and then it'll come back to this body for a final design review, and it'll also need a minor subdivision with the zoning administrator. I'm not sure which order those are going to go in, but probably this first. Okay? The other one is another project that the Design Review Commission has had study session and made recommendations for was 2670 and 2680 Walnut, the 13 units, the 13-unit small lot subdivision, SB 330 density bonus project. That was approved by the Planning Commission and then promptly appealed. So it was agendized, I think, for tonight for the Design Review Commission, or maybe it was last week. Yeah, and so that was temporarily dropped and pending appeal, and the appeal will be heard on the 21st.
And that's appeal to Planning Commission or Council?
It was an appeal of a Planning Commission action, so it goes to the council.
Got it, thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Any other items,
That's
Mr.
it.
Secretary? Well,
I have
then,
a question
oh,
about that, though.
go ahead.
So aren't there like only so many meetings, public meetings, that project can go to?
5.
And so now that will count as one
Yes.
of those?
Yeah, we tried to reserve enough, and we tried to reserve enough meetings for potentially 2 appeals, an appeal of the Planning Commission and an appeal of this commission. So I think I believe they're at 3 now. But the appeal hearing will be 3rd.
I'm going to do my best to attend that meeting.
No,
to
I'm
listen.
just curious, like what, I guess I don't know the process with these as much. So it's like, so you do an appeal because, do they have to have like a specific,
They made several points of appeal.
okay. Okay, and that's coming from like the local neighbors, or where does that
Yes,
come from?
correct. It was from the surrounding neighbors, adjacent neighbors.
Okay.
Can you, if we made a decision, could you theoretically appeal it to the planning commission? And then if it went to the planning commission, so have 2 appeals,
For design review?
or for the project as a whole?
So any decision made by the Design Review Commission is appealable only to the Planning Commission, and the buck stops there. For a Planning Commission action, it can be appealed to the City Council, and of course, you can't appeal a City Council.
So really, there's only one appeal. What I'm saying is whether that could be used as a way to get to your 5 meetings and automatically have.
In appeals? Yeah. I think in this case, there could be, actually, there could be 3. I guess they could appeal the zoning administrator action of the subdivision.
Interesting, okay.
And then we're in a quandary.
Well, then I would imagine also, I suppose, I'm going to have to ask my attorney friend who's familiar with this, I suppose if all the appeals and meetings are run out, and under state law, the project's a go, I suppose the individuals can sue the developer, and then that's not a part of the city's.
They would be suing yes.
Yeah, we'd be out of that loop. Yeah, it'd just be a private lawsuit.
Once it gets past City Council, then it's all.
It's done. Yep. Fascinating.
Okay. And
Well-
that is all I have.
Well, thank you. And we will adjourn the meeting
All right.
at 7:40.